Welcome to the Spheres of Spirit with Nancy Myers, aka the Lady of the Light. Nancy will discuss the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit which surrounds each of us, waiting to be discovered. She will share some of her remarkable orb photos, proving that our angels, guides, loved ones in spirit, and even pets surround us and guide us in our physical world. During this episode, Nancy will discuss one of the many spheres or aspects of spirit available to us based on her orb photography. She will also share a special channeled message from her guide, Leonini, and do an oracle card reading to help guide you along your personal spiritual adventure. And now, here is your host, orb photographer, author, medium, and speaker, Nancy Myers.
Hi, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I am your host, Nancy Myers. And on today's show, one of the spheres or aspects that we're going to talk about when you're on a spiritual path is one I really hadn't heard of or knew much about when I began mine, and that's shamanism. Who is a shaman? What is a shaman? Why do we need a shaman? So I didn't even know how to say the word. Some people say shaman, and some people say shaman. So, shaman, I found out, is the US or the American pronunciation, where shaman is the British English pronunciation. Both are correct if you do hear people say that. So, where did the word come from? Well, shaman originated the word from the language of a Siberian tribe known as the Tungus, Tungus. More specifically, it comes from the word saman, which means one who is excited, moved, or raised. And the verb meaning of that is to know. Sorry, my producer was saying tomato. Yes, either is correct. So the shaman could also be derived from an ancient Indian word, East Indian, and that meaning is to heal oneself or practice austerities. Austerity means a simple way of life, of prayer, kind of think of like a monk. But the word shaman today has evolved to describe any spiritual specialist kind of anywhere in the world. So, what is this definition of being a shaman? The term shaman refers to any practitioners who encounter controlled ASCs. ASC is an altered state of consciousness. There was a man that defined this. His name was Michael Harner. That was his definition. And he was an anthropologist that spent years in the Amazon tribes in the 50s and 60s, 1950s and 60s, and later became a shaman himself. And he further defined shaman as a man or a woman, because women can be shamans, who enter an altered state of consciousness at will to contact and utilize an ordinarily hidden reality to acquire knowledge, power, and to help other persons. So it is safe to say that shamanism has existed in some form for at least 10,000 years. But there is evidence to suggest that it goes back even further, as far back as 20,000 years. So when you say someone's a shaman or shamanism, what is that? Well, shamanism is deeply connected to nature as well as the abundance of Earth's teachings. It is the oldest form in which humanity has sought connection with creation. Now, I have a guest today, Sandy, and she'll be here in a minute, and she is a shaman, and we're going to talk about that more in depth. But they practice what is called animism, and that's the belief that all natural phenomena, including human beings, animals, plants, even rocks, lakes, mountains, all share one vital quality, the soul or spirit that energizes them. The practice of shamanism involves sometimes hallucinations and or altered states of consciousness. And these altered states are what allows the access to the spirit world. Shamans fulfill the roles of healers, diviners, mediums, and again can be found all over the world today, even. However, good old Christian church back in the 400s tried to wipe out the practice of shamanism. Temples were systematically destroyed and key ceremonies were outlawed. Beginning in the Middle Ages and continuing into the Renaissance, remnants of European shamanisms were wiped out by campaigns claiming they were witches. These campaigns were often orchestrated by those Catholic inquisitions. The repression of shamanism continued as with the Spanish colonization. In the Caribbean, Central and South America, the priests followed in the footsteps of the conquistadors and were instrumental in the destruction of local traditions and denouncing practitioners as devil worshippers, sometimes having them executed, many times having them executed. It has been thought that the modern state campaigns, even against the hallucinogenics, dates back to those Christian beliefs that if you're in an altered state, you're in contact with the devil. Today, shamanism, which was once universal, survives primarily among indigenous peoples, but it's making a comeback even in the Western culture. Again, that's what I want to talk to Sandy about today. Shamanic practice continues in the jungles, deserts, and other rural areas, but also in cities, towns, suburbs, all over the world. Shamanism teaches that the physical world is controlled by the spiritual world, and that most people need a guide or intermediary to navigate those worlds. And this guide is the shaman. A shaman is sometimes also called a medicine man, a medium, a spirit walker. So if we can bring up that first slide, Chris, and believe it or not, I even have an orb connection to shamanism. So I'll share, I have 2 pictures to share with you today. So this is one of the latest orbs that I just got this orb last week, and it's so unique because the little circles in there are yellow, and I've never seen that before. But the quote that I chose to pair up with this orb, and it kind of reminded me earth tones and earth. So it says, the shaman does not believe in a division between the body and spirit or between the visible world of form and the invisible world of energy. And that's a quote by Alberto Villoldo, and he was trained as a psychologist, medical anthropologist, studied the healing practices of the Amazon and the Andean shamans. But what I loved about this quote, it says the visible world of form and the invisible world of energy. And that's kind of the connection to the orbs. I've told you on other podcasts, everything boiled down to its basic form is energy, including the orbs. When people ask me, what is an orb? I say at the very foundation, it's energy. So thank you, Chris, for that. So at this time, Chris, if we could bring in Sandy and welcome her to the show. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank you for being here. It is truly my pleasure to be hosting you and to talk to you today about shamanism. I'm just going to tell my audience a little bit here briefly about you. You have over 30 years experience in many healing modalities, including shamanic healing. And we're going to talk about the neuro-linguistic programming too in a little bit. And you also work in an energy medicine and past life transformation. But you just heard, I hope, what I just introduced and the definition or the explanation of shamanism. But since you are yourself a shaman, how do you define shamanism?
For me, shamanism is It's similar. It's being able to access those worlds, to access the the energies beyond what we can see with our eyes, and be able to hear them, be able to get the messages, connect with them, and understand what's going on. I call it reading energy, being able to see what's happening outside of our physical vision.
And what got you interested? And I said this was 30 years, right? You've 30 years of being a shaman. What got you interested in pursuing this?
I had a healing experience that I went through about almost 35 years ago now. And I had breast cancer and started doing everything. I did not do the medical route. I did everything alternative.
Ah,
And that got me into all kinds of fields that I hadn't really thought about. I was already on a spiritual journey and, looking at who I was and learning new things, but that kind of threw me into the deep end. And then I pursued, every possible way of really connecting with these energies, really connecting with my soul, with my spirit, with, guardian angels, with everything that I could. And the shaman training that I took literally changed my life. All of a sudden, everything was much more powerful.
hmm.
All of the messages came in without me even trying. It's like it allowed me to live in both worlds at the same time and not have to shut down. I sometimes I close my eyes, but in general, I'm still totally present when I am connecting with the other realms, and I can, connect with them and still be talking to somebody and doing something in this world. It just opens up the doors to be fully present all the time.
That's fascinating because in the intro I said that they can do this at will. So
Okay. Yes.
so now I mentioned the psychedelics. Do you use psychedelics to
No, I
do
do not.
this?
No. And I
Okay.
don't believe that you really have to. I don't have an issue with it, but I just think that it's a tool, and maybe you can use it to get you there or something like that. But I think people get stuck on tools, and you don't really need that. You can get there without that.
Yeah, because 'cause we're hearing so much lately about the ayahuasca, ayahuasca, ayahuasca. Everybody wants to go on the ayahuasca. I'm scared to death to do it because I'm so sensitive. But now didn't you go down to a place in Costa Rica called, is it Arrhythmia?
Rhythmia, yes.
And speak with the shamans there?
Yes, I had a chance to do ayahuasca there. And all the messages I got said, no, absolutely don't. Because what it told me was I had already gotten to the places that I had already gotten beyond the places ayahuasca could take me, and it would
Ah,
actually take me down. But I did get the chance to talk to the shamans there who run the ceremonies and doing the ayahuasca. And we got to talk about different kinds of journeys and different places you can go and where the ayahuasca takes you. And everywhere they talked about, I had already been, and I could talk about those places, and they were kind of shocked to hear that I could go there, and I hadn't ever done ayahuasca, but they could tell that I was going to the same places they were.
that's really interesting, and we're gonna talk about, I think it's called the shamanic journey.
Yes.
Right? That everybody guides. But I first wanna talk about your tools that you use because there's a mesa, there's a medicine bundle. Can you talk a little bit and
Sure.
explain to the audience what it is, why it is?
Yes. Well, first, the mesa, that's Spanish word for table. And what it means, it's your medicine bundle. And it is a blanket or a cloth with stones in it that are special to you. And not all shamans use a mesa, but Masayoc shamans use mesas.
What
And
is a Masayo?
that means mesa using, basically.
Oh, okay.
And because the shamans believe that everything has a consciousness, everything is alive, including all the rocks, including the plants, including everything. And so you talk to your stones, they give you messages, you use them for healing, you use them to pull off energies from yourself, from other people. And it's basically a medicine bundle, and it's sacred to the shamans, and you can add stones to it. I've had mine have stones come in. I've had stones, suddenly want to leave. If you can blow the energies into your stones and let them work on them while you're busy doing other things, and it really works. Sometimes I walk by mine and I hear it has a message for me, and so I stop and
Wow.
listen.
Wow. So when you were putting this together, did you just walk outside? Are these crystals, gemstones? What kind of stones?
They're any kind of stone that you want to have in there. It doesn't have to, it can be crystals. It doesn't have to be. Mine are all different kinds of stones and crystals. And you go through, in the shaman training, you go through the different directions. In a 4-part series, you go through the medicine wheel, and in each part of the medicine wheel, you add 3 stones to your mesa. And so they go through ceremony with you. They pull off things, and so they get initiated and connected to your energy. And
Oh, the rocks get initiated.
exactly.
Oh, okay.
And so they're connected to you. You start talking to them. Other people in the class work with your stones to get messages for you. They really come alive. And so these are connected to your energy. And when I took the shaman training in the advanced part, the shaman that was teaching actually took some of our stones from us and hid them, and we had to find them from the energy and call them back to us. And it was kind of amazing to go through that experience, and it really worked. You could hear them calling you, and you could find them.
Wow. So can you tell us a little bit about the training, what you had to go through?
Sure. The the medicine wheel goes through all the different archetypes and different aspects of the different worlds. The first is the directions, the south direction, and the south is about serpent. And I was trained in Inca shaman, so
Okay.
in North American shaman they start in the east, but in Inca shaman South America they start in the south. And the south is represented by serpent, and it's all about shedding your skin, and which means shedding the stories that you've been telling yourself, that you've been living by and thinking that's what your life is. So when you shed that, all of a sudden lots of different perspectives open up and allow you
Mm,
to see the world, to see your life, to see everything that's happening completely differently. And so it's all about shedding those stories. And then in the West, and that's represented by Jaguar, and Jaguar is known to walk between the worlds. In other words, you can walk partly in this world and partly beyond the veil, and function completely fine. And the West is all about facing your fears, especially facing death. And we go through ceremonies of having your essence kind of lifted out of your body and sent off on a journey, and you bring it back. And we do funeral ceremonies and things like that, so you can go through the process of really letting go of all of your fears and facing all of that. And it changes you completely when you do that, and you realize that fear isn't about keeping you safe. You don't need fear. You can just
right.
let all of that go. And then in the north, it is about being the dreamer, and it's represented by hummingbird. And it's dreaming the dream and connecting with ancestors and knowing and facing who you really are, and completely letting go of your identity, like all the things that you may have identified yourself with before, as wife or mother or sister or daughter, teacher, anything like that. You let go of all your identities, so that you can step into any of those roles anytime you need, but those are just roles. They're not the real you. And you release all of that, back to the universe. And then in the East, it's about stepping into the vision, seeing the vision from a higher perspective,
Mm,
and allowing yourself to really see from this high place and start looking at things differently from there. And then you go around the circle again, and it's a spiral, and each time you go around, it's deeper and deeper. And amazingly, anytime you have any issue, you actually go through this process without realizing it to solve the issue. You let go of the story, you face the fear, you let go of identifying with it, and then you step into the new vision.
Oh,
And
sure.
so everything in life is about going around that circle.
So is this literally a circle that was drawn on the ground that you went through? Or is it done in the mind?
It's just in the mind, and each of the classes, it's 4 separate classes, and each one focuses on a different direction.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
I went to Peru, and yes, the jaguar is so important. It's in their landscape even, and then of course the condor, and
Yes.
so yeah, and that's you said the Inca um, shamanism is what you studied. So
Yes.
and we had a shaman, which I'll share a story later, but along with us on the tour. And
That's
so,
beautiful.
so when you have this medicine bundle, do you wrap it up, your stones, in a cloth, a
Yes, you
special
wrap them
cloth?
up in a cloth, and that's what you can carry with you, and you learn how to fold the cloth so that nothing falls out, and how to protect your mace so you don't leave it setting out anywhere that anybody could take anything. But if you have a safe place, you can leave it open and let it be doing work with you all the time.
So are maces common throughout shamanism throughout the world, or is that kind of specific to the Inca?
I don't think it's not specific to the Inca. Others have maces, but I think the Inca use it more prevalently than others. Yes.
Okay. So then when you work with someone, well, we're going to talk about that because I have to break here in a minute. But I want to talk more about the shamanic journey and
Okay.
then how you take these lessons to help others.
Okay.
So come back. We'll be right back after these messages.
OMTimes TV. The story told in Entering the Light Fantastic, Discovering Life After Life Through Orbs, is about Nancy Meyer's spiritual and emotional rising from the devastating ashes of loss caused by the sudden and unexpected passing of her son Robbie. Just like the legend of the reborn phoenix, Nancy's life purpose and focus was transformed. With the help from her son in spirit, Nancy found herself providing proof through orbs that our souls do not die with our bodies. In her second book, Encircled by the Light Fantastic, A Deeper Journey into the Light with Orbs, Nancy continues chronicling her path of gaining spiritual knowledge and expanding acceptance of what is possible, while traveling to many sacred and ancient sites around the world. She shares these experiences with you along with her photographs of remarkable spirit encounters. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OMTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OMTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OMTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OMTimes TV and broadcasting it across the extensive OMTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OMTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities.
Is it time yet?
It's time.
Let's start time for dinner.
Oh, it's
And we take those.
Pasta dinner.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
And we're back. So what I want to talk about, or have you talk about, is I think it's a very important part of working with a shaman is the shamanic journey. Can
Yes.
you tell us what that is?
Yeah, what it really is going inside yourself and finding things that you can't find or don't even know to look for with your conscious awareness. So you're diving into your subconscious and into your superconscious, like your soul is guiding, but you're diving into the subconscious realms, and everything in the universe is inside your subconscious. So you're diving into the universe at the same time as you dive into yourself. Some of the places that you go that you consider it different worlds. The underworld is your subconscious,
Ah,
and that's where different entities live and where lost soul parts are. Sometimes in our life, if we have trauma or bad experiences or just change who we think we are, then the parts of us can go away and they get stored basically in the underworld for later. And there is Huascar in the underworld, according to the Incas, that guards all lost soul parts. And you can actually go on a journey to find them. You can
so
go.
the underworld to the shaman, sorry to interrupt,
That's
is
fine.
not hell.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's the part of yourself that's hidden in the shadows, that's out of your awareness. And it contains things that you may want to recover and retrieve for yourself and bring them back into your life.
Ah, interesting. And then where else do you go on this journey?
Well, you can go to the middle world, and the middle world is basically the world that we see out there. But when you journey into it, you journey into like animal messages. You can search for your animal guide and your spirit animal. Sometimes you have the same one for a long time. Sometimes you have one that will just come and give you a message for today. Sometimes they come and they can lead you on journeys that take you and show you things from the past, show you things that you didn't know about inside yourself. And suddenly you'll have a revelation about something that you didn't, oh, that person was really doing this. They'll all of a sudden you just know things because that you can see the spirit animal is showing you different
Wow.
things that you didn't realize.
Wow. And is
And
there one more world?
yes, the upper world. And the upper world is angels and spirit guides and those kinds of beings. But also that's the primary where we go to the upper world. But there's also, you can travel, and it's not recommended for the most part, but you can go to the journey. You can journey to the stone people, and you can journey to the plant people and to the animal people, and then to the humans, and then to the spirit world. And so there's different worlds in the upper world, but primarily you go and visit, the angelic realm. And that's where the crystal city is, that you can go and actually be upgraded and have all your chakras turned into crystals so
Really?
that you're more expansive. Yes.
How do you travel? How is this accomplished? What is this act? If I come to you and I go, okay, I want to go on a journey, what do we do?
What we do is close our eyes to go inside. The journey can be guided, or you can just do it yourself. Usually it's with music, and often it's with drumming. And once the music starts, I will guide people in to the journey, tell them we almost always start from the place that we build, that is our field, the field that is from Rumi's quote, the field outside of that right doing and wrongdoing, beyond the existence of right doing and wrongdoing. He said, I'll meet you there. So we always create our field, our very special place for ourselves, that we go, and it has places where we can go underground into the underworld. It has streams for healing. We put special places in there, and it's a place that you can go in a moment's notice. If you're upset about something or anything, you can close your eyes, go to your field, regather yourself and all your energy from your PowerPoint, and come back, and all of a sudden you're fine. So the field, journeying from the field, we go from there and journey to different realms. and I just talk people through where they're going, and inside their mind, they go on the journey, and each journey for each person is different and unique, and everyone has an amazing experience. And I haven't found anyone that hasn't been able to journey and get lots of information and benefits from it.
Yeah, I did that once. I studied under a not your kind of study, and it was like a weekend thing.
Mhm.
And we did a journey, and there were two drummers, and they started drumming, and there was a group of us. I think there was 15 of us in this circle, and we were laying down, and they kept drumming and guiding us through it. And then all of a sudden, there was other instruments coming from somewhere,
Yes,
and we all heard it, but
yes,
nobody in the room. And it was one of the most amazing experiences. I mean, you could feel the energy shift in the room. It was like everything around us disappeared. But I have to tell you, I know it's real because when we went to our guide, she said, "Okay, somebody's going to meet you there, and
yes,
they're going to give you a gift."
yes,
And so I saw who this was, and I reached my hand out, and I thought he was handing me a feather, and it was white. And so I said, "Oh, thanks for the feather." And I went to reach for it, and he pulled it back. He said, "This is not a feather. It is the white flame." And I had never heard of a white flame, being on a spiritual path, and I had to research it. So I know that didn't come from me, that came to me through
e-
this.
exactly.
Yeah. So, doing this work I know is real. And now being one of the things that I've learned about the shaman is their total connection to the earth and how important it is. Um, and how connected. They call it the interconnectedness. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yes, it's shamans look at everything. You're connected to everything in the universe. You're connected especially to Mother Earth, and they, honor Mother Earth and do ceremony to honor the earth and thank Mother Earth for Pachamama
Yeah,
for
Pachamama. Yeah.
being what it is, for supporting us all, for giving life to everything around us. And they're very connected to all the beings of Mother Earth, all the animals, all the plants, and getting messages from all of those. And you looking in your life, if you have an animal that comes and it's something, even if it's something you see every day, and it behaves differently for a couple times in a row or something, you say, wait a minute, that's trying to tell me something. And so it's a way for your energies, for the universe to speak to you through the animals. And sometimes I will see an animal that I haven't seen in a long time. Or I had, for example, I had a rabbit, and I saw rabbits every once in a while, but I was on a walk and had a rabbit, kind of walk out in front of me, and I didn't really think about it. And then the next day, I had a rabbit that was much closer, and it almost jumped, right in front of me. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And I still wasn't really thinking about it. And then the next day, a rabbit ran right in front of my car, and I said, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I didn't hit it. I avoided it. But I said, okay, there's a message here from rabbit. And so I had to go and journey and find out what the message was that rabbit was trying to tell me. So you look for things like that when it's trying to get your attention.
That's really interesting. So you went on a journey to talk to the spirit of rabbit to find
Yes,
out what the message was.
yes.
When something like that happens to me, because I'm not a trained shaman, I go look it up under spirit animal.
You can do that also. Yes.
Okay, but
Yes.
what my question is, would those messages be the same?
They
Similar?
would most likely be very similar. And the one when you're with your journey would just be more directed at specifically your life. But the message that comes from the shamanic journeying books, things like that, yes, they are
Yeah.
accurate, and that will work.
I so love that, the shamanism talks about, pay attention, because I've talked about how subtle, the spirit world can be, and we can easily dismiss the signs and just, oh,
Yes.
that was a coincidence, but when you start tuning in, do you find that then the more messages come to you?
Absolutely. When you start noticing things, then all of a sudden things really show up, and you pay attention. And you can even ask for messages and say, bring me a sign, if this is the direction that I need to be going, bring me a sign, and then something will show up.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
There's so many overlaps in so many. That's what I love about this. So, when I was in Peru, we had the shaman assigned to us, and we would do ceremony. Um, One of the things that I noticed over and over and over again was how many times we said thank you.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
being in gratitude is a very important part. And we talked about, you just said it once, Pachamama, but
Yes.
Pachamama is another name for Mother Earth. And we did all these ceremonies thanking Mother Earth. How important is that
It's
to do that?
it's very important because the shamanic people look at Earth as it's our mother, literally. It's what birthed us, and it's what nourishes us, and it's what brings all the animals to us. And so that they and I are always in gratitude to Mother Earth for the nurturing, for everything. Another thing that we do is fire ceremonies.
Mm.
And in fire ceremonies, you give offerings to the fire and to release things sometimes, or to bless things. And in every fire ceremony that I have, I always do a blessing for Mother Earth, and have everyone that's at the ceremony blow their own blessing into a stick that we pass around, and then offer it to the fire as everyone's blessing for Mother Earth. That's
Oh,
very, very important to me.
that would be something really good to do on Earth Day, I think,
I think that would be great, yes.
Yeah, I really like that. Um, I also do a fire ceremony where we to release, but it's
Mhm.
like at the first of the year to bring in the new year. Okay,
Yes.
right down. So I guess I've been doing shamanism and haven't really
You
realized.
have. Yes.
But so that was leads me to my next question then. I said, how they tried to stamp out shamanism, and it was relegated, just to some tribes and indigenous people, but it's making a comeback, is it not?
Absolutely. Yes, a lot more people are realizing that it's not witchcraft, it's not craziness, it's not anything evil at all. In fact, it's this beautiful blessing, and connecting with everything around you, and listening to the messages of the trees, and you start opening up to it, and you can feel the trees, like you can feel the sap running through them. You can feel everything. You can feel the messages from them. And when you do that, then walking out in nature, even walking out your front door, is like a whole different, new, amazing experience. It's not just going out your front door.
Yeah, you really start noticing things.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. So has shot now when I introduced you, I talked about, you do a lot of healing modalities, and the one that I'm going to touch on here today is what you say is NLP, which is the Neuro Linguistic Programming, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So have you then because everything evolves. So did shamanism do you fold shamanism into that? Did you go into that because of shamanism? Talk to us a little bit about that and what it is.
I actually learned the neuro-linguistic programming, the NLP, first, and it started opening me up. And what NLP is about is it's the way your subconscious mind learns. And it was a technique developed in the 50s that allows you to have direct access to your subconscious mind through meditation, and through, the words that you use, and being open and available to those words. And so the technique that I use in NLP is parts work, and it's about looking for the parts that are stored inside you. And parts are the belief systems that you carry. And it turns out that we have a filtering system, because we have much more information coming into us than we can possibly process consciously. It's like 20 million bits of information coming in per second, and we can consciously process about 40 of those, so almost 10 of it. But your subconscious can process it all, and so it's always analyzing everything coming in and deciding whether to store it away or whether to give it to your conscious awareness, and it does that based on its belief systems. But the belief systems are things that have been stored from when we were small, or even from past lives, or even in the womb. And those things get stored in your subconscious mind based on what your subconscious thinks will help you survive. And that's always its priority, which is good. We're all still here. But sometimes it gets kind of caught up in that. And for example, it's the example I use often, but if you're 3 years old and you drop your ice cream cone, your subconscious mind immediately goes on high alert because you're all upset because you just dropped your ice cream cone. And so it thinks that's important to your survival. And then if some random stranger walks by and says, "Oh my, what bad luck you have," at the age of 3 or up till 7, you take everything in as true. So your subconscious mind says, "Oh, we have bad luck." And it uses that to help build the filtering system. And it believes having bad luck is important to your survival. So from then on, as the 20 million bits of information come in per second, if there's one that shows you have bad luck or confirms that or reminds you in any way, that will go straight to your conscious awareness. Anything that shows big opportunities or good luck just gets filed away. It's not marked as important. So we keep reaffirming any beliefs that we have through life, whether they're true or not.
And without knowing it.
And without knowing it, absolutely. And so, because it's 95% of what's going on is outside of our conscious awareness. And so NLP allows us a way to access those beliefs for anything that's not working in your life, whether it's physical or mental, emotional, spiritual. Anything that's not working, we can dive in and find out what the belief is that's under it, teach it the truth by connecting it to your spiritual self. And then that belief goes away, and your mind is going like, "Oh, wow. That's different. Okay. I see now that's not important. And I see that, oh, I can open up for opportunities." And people have all kinds of things stored in there, like they're not allowed to be loved, or that anger is love, or, that it depends on how you were raised and what, if you want to believe your parents love you, and sadly, if they're angry all the time, then you start to believe that somebody angry is love.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of things that get misconstrued in our subconscious mind. And then unless we do something to change those beliefs, our filtering system keeps working on those old pieces of misinformation.
Wow, we keep getting fed the same stuff over and over again. No wonder we get trapped. Okay, so full disclosure, audience, I did an NLP session with Sandy just a couple of days ago. And I have to tell you, first of all, it was remarkable. But in a way, Sandy, because I've done a shamanic journey, it reminded me of being on a journey.
Yes, it is. It's just more guided than
yeah.
Yes.
And some of the stuff that came up, I thought, damn, I thought I fixed that already, but there it is. It's still there. It still needs work. So it was quite an amazing experience and very freeing. So, I kind of talked to you ahead of time. Can you, or do you have how this changes people's lives? Do you have any stories on?
What I have seen with almost everyone I've worked with, I can't think of anyone it hasn't, it opens them up to being more available to new perspectives, to recognizing that they're in choice, that they're not, they don't have to take things this way. They don't have to buy into that story, that every moment they can choose to look at something differently. And so it opens people up to really be in choice. And there's a person I was working with who had anxiety like almost constantly.
Oh.
And we dove in to find out, and her father was very strict. He wasn't mean or anything, but he was very strict, and she wanted his love so badly that she had layer upon layer stored of always being on guard and always watching out and always seeing what somebody else thought of her, and always, thinking if she did something wrong that he wasn't going to love her anymore. And
Sure.
so she was always on guard. And so it took us a few sessions, but we got through and looked at all those pieces of anxiety and taught her mind that she doesn't have to be on guard, that he does love her, that the universe loves you, that your soul loves you, and that you're always loved. And all of a sudden there was no reason for her to be anxious all the time. So she's started really venturing out and living her life and not feeling afraid of everything. And it's beautiful to watch from this side, to see people open up and become who they are.
Wow. That's it sounds like you just, I don't know if she was in therapy, but you just did, 2 years worth of therapy in one session almost.
Yeah.
Is this a tool that therapists employ? Or
there are some therapists that use it, yes. And it is a therapy tool, for sure, because it's instead of talking through the shift of your misbeliefs to the truth, what you're doing is directly accessing where the belief is stored and changing it immediately.
Wow, that's amazing. So is this something, well, you did it on Zoom for me.
Yes.
But, and I don't know, can you do a shamanic journey on Zoom, or would they have to do that live?
No, you can do a shamanic journey on Zoom. Yes. I don't teach the shamanic classes on Zoom. I do those live because there's a whole experience that is included in it. And, but we can do a shamanic journey and do past life transformation. Any of those things we can do on Zoom or by phone, or because you can read. It doesn't matter where the energy is, you can access and read the energy. It's always available to you.
Yeah.
And I always say that I kept telling people, well, they would say, how do you know this? I said, well, you just look right here. It's all right here. And then I studied with a physicist and learned that every proton is a black hole, and all the energy of the universe is right here in that proton. And so me telling people that it's all right here was actually accurate.
And that physicist I happen to know is Nassim Haramein, who, if anybody follows him, he's incredible to follow and to read his papers and studies. He's not your normal physicist.
Right. Not at all.
Yeah, but very good. So how do people get a hold of you if they want to schedule something?
They can email me. It's Karsten33 at Gmail. It's KARSTEN 33 at gmail.com. They can go to my website, which is mypersonalmagic.com.
Okay.
And is it okay? A lot of people text me. I can give that
if you don't mind putting your phone number out there. No, go ahead.
It's already out there.
Oh, okay.
It's 951-217-9206. And text before you call and tell me who you are. So then I know to pick up the phone.
Yeah. I do the same thing. I don't know you. Leave a text and I'll call you back. Because we advertise to do readings. So, we get calls from a lot of people, and most of them are extremely nice, but still you have to be careful. So, Sandy, I want to thank you so much. This was just utterly fascinating today.
Well, thank you, Nancy, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, it was my pleasure, and I can't believe how quickly it went. But thank you for sharing
I love
that.
this work. I just love it. So
I can tell.
Share it. Yeah.
I can tell. So if you're interested, I highly recommend Sandy. You will go on a journey like none other before. So thank you, Sandy, very much.
Thank you.
So I will read my message from Leonini. It's so funny, but she always gives me a message I say that goes with the podcast, and wait till you hear my message. But I wanted to share one more thing. I talked about my shaman that was assigned to our group when I was in Peru, and his name was Edgar. And we went to this special, God, I think we walked up, I don't know, maybe at the side of a mountain. It must have been 100 stairs. And we go into this cave, and in the cave wall is etched perfectly like a doorway that goes nowhere, because it was just an indentation. And then there were seats carved in the huge boulder at the mouth of the cave. So we did these amazing ceremonies, and we thanked Pachamama. And when you're in Peru and you're with a shaman, everything is kind of built around coca leaves. So we had our leaves, and we did the ceremony. And afterwards, I took a picture of the shaman and in the cave. So, Chris, do we have that picture handy? There we are. So there's Edgar. We've become friends. He's still friends with me on Facebook. But there was that huge orb next to him, and I showed him, and he went, "Oh my goodness." And so it was the energy that it's okay, Chris. That's okay. You can see these, and look at them a little more carefully, either on my website, theorbconnection.com, or here on OMTimes Radio. And but the energy that's created and that comes in to help, it's just like I said when I was on my shamanic journey, and I hear all the tunes. But anyway, I have to get going here. So I wanted to read this. You heard Sandy talk about, seeing, you see it, it's clear, right? Okay, here's her message. There is a saying in your world that seeing is believing. Does that mean that unless you see something with your physical eyes, that there is no way you can believe it exists simply because it is outside of your vision? Can you see love? Can you see joy? Can you see hope? Seeing, truly seeing, involves more than your eyes. When you are learning a new concept or lesson, and suddenly it becomes clear in your mind, you say, "Oh, I see now. It is clear." Sometimes new ideas or beliefs must first be taken on faith. You believe that there is air around you, even though you cannot see it. We are like the air around you, not always seen with your physical eyes, but we are around you nonetheless. We ask that you do not limit what is, just because you cannot see it yet. Yes, seeing is believing, but we remind you that believing is also seeing. Amazing. Amazing. She never ceases to amaze me. So on that, I'm going to do my quick card reading here. And because we talked about Pachamama, I grabbed my Earth Magic cards. So I'm going to shuffle these, and I will pull one. And I always do this with the intent that this card resonates with all who listen. I never know which one I'm going to get. And I'm shuffling because I haven't used this deck for a little while. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, and this card comes up to the top. And it says waterfall. And the message associated with this card is effortless. And one thing that I know, when we get in the flow, which is the water flowing over the edge, and you let go and you trust and you believe, life really, becomes more effortless. You do not have to work so hard to steer the road that you're on. It's like, float down that river, don't go over the waterfall, but float down that, let the water surround you, let spirit surround you, let spirit help you get into the flow. The flow of what? The flow of soul growth and ascension and spiritual growth and seeing miracles. And, my son told me once, through a meditation from Spirit. He said, Mom, the more you believe, the more you believe. So I will leave you with that. I want to thank you again for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.